What happens when love defies age? These 7 age-gap romances pushed the boundaries of what we consider acceptable and left audiences questioning everything. From shocking pairings that sparked outrage to love stories too taboo to ignore, these films created a storm. Get ready to dive into the most controversial love stories in cinema history, where age was just a number, but the backlash was real. 1. Lolita, 1962. No discussion of age gap controversy can begin without Stanley Kubrick's adaptation of Vladimir Nabokov's seminal novel. The story of Humbert Humbert, a middle-aged literature professor who becomes obsessed with his landlady's young daughter, Dolores Lolita Hayes, remains the blueprint for the forbidden narrative. In 1962, the motion picture production code was still a formidable barrier. Kubrick had to navigate a minefield of censorship, ultimately aging the character of Lolita from 12 to 14 and leaning into a more satirical black comedy tone. Despite these concessions, the film remains deeply unsettling. The controversy stems from the perspective. By placing the audience in Humbert's orbit, the film forces a confrontation with his predatory grooming, masked by the sophisticated veneer of Peter Sellers and James Mason's performances. It is a study of obsession that refuses to offer the viewer an easy moral exit, making it a permanent fixture in the lexicon of controversial cinema. 2. Harold and Maude, 1971. While many age-gap films focus on the predatory or the tragic, Hal Ashby's Harold and Maude took a radically different path, one that shocked 1970s audiences for entirely different reasons. The film depicts the relationship between Harold, a death-obsessed 20-year-old, and Maude, a 79-year-old Holocaust survivor who is vibrantly in love with life. At the time of its release, the film was a commercial failure and widely panned. Critics found the physical romance between a young man and an elderly woman revolting or ghastly. It broke the traditional cinematic mold, which usually paired older men with younger women. However, over the decades, Harold and Maude transformed into a cult classic. Its controversy lies in its subversion of aesthetic norms. It suggests that companionship and romantic connection can transcend the physical decay of age, a message that was perhaps too progressive for the structured social hierarchies of the early 70s. 3. In the Realm of the Senses, 1976, Nagisa Oshima's In the Realm of the Senses is perhaps one of the most legally embattled films in history. Based on the true story of Sada Abe in 1930s Japan, it depicts an all-consuming, obsessive affair between a hotel owner and one of his maids. While the age gap, a mature man and a younger woman, is a factor, the controversy was fueled by the film's unsimulated sexual content and its descent into a death pact of erotic asphyxiation. The film was seized by customs in various countries and led to obscenity trials for Oshima. It remains a stark example of how age gap dynamics can be used to explore the eros and thanatos, sex and death, drive. It isn't just a story about a relationship. It is a visceral exploration of how two people can use one another to withdraw completely from a militaristic, oppressive society, eventually leading to a gruesome and famous conclusion that still leaves modern audiences stunned. 4. Manhattan, 1979. Woody Allen's Manhattan is a film whose legacy has shifted dramatically over time. In 1979, the story of Isaac, a 42-year-old twice-divorced comedy writer dating Tracy, a 17-year-old high school student, was framed as a sophisticated, quintessentially New Yorker romantic comedy. Marielle Hemingway even received an Oscar nomination for her portrayal of Tracy. The controversy today is retrospective. In the late 70s, the film was lauded for its breathtaking black-and-white cinematography and its witty dialogue. However, in the 21st century, the power imbalance and the legality of the relationship have become the primary lens through which the film is viewed. It serves as a cultural time capsule, illustrating how narratives that were once seen as eccentric or intellectual are now scrutinized under more modern understandings of consent and developmental maturity. 5. Damage, 1992. Louis Malle's Damage takes the age gap trope and injects it with a lethal dose of British upper-class tragedy. Jeremy Irons plays a high-ranking politician who enters into a devastatingly carnal affair with his son's fiancée, played by Juliette Binoche. The controversy here isn't just the age difference, but the profound violation of the familial bond. The film explores the coup de foudre, the lightning strike of obsession that destroys everything in its path. It was initially slapped with an NC-17 rating in the United States due to the intensity and graphic nature of its sexual encounters. Unlike more whimsical romances, Damage treats the age gap affair as a psychological sickness, a slow-motion car crash that destroys careers, lives, and families, proving that the taboo often carries a heavy price. 6. Léon, the Professional, 1994. Luc Besson's Léon, or The Professional, occupies a strange, tension-filled space in cinema. It follows a hitman who takes in a 12-year-old girl, Matilda, after her family is murdered. As the film progresses, Matilda declares her love for Léon and suggests a romantic connection. The international version, or director's cut, contains scenes that were removed from the original U.S. theatrical release because they were deemed too uncomfortable. These scenes more explicitly address Matilda's budding romantic feelings for her protector. The film's controversy stems from the ambiguity of Léon's response. He is a character with the emotional intelligence of a child, creating a relationship that is protective and pure to him, but deeply coded with grooming or pedophilic undertones to the viewer. It remains one of the most debated boundary films in action thriller history. 7. Notes on a Scandal, 2006. In Notes on a Scandal, the controversy is the engine of the plot. Cate Blanchett plays Sheba Hart, a teacher who begins an affair with a 15-year-old student, which is then discovered by an older, lonely colleague, played by Judi Dench. This film shifted the perspective to a female predator, a dynamic less commonly explored with such grim realism in mainstream cinema at the time. It stripped away the romantic veneer often found in earlier age gap films and replaced it with a claustrophobic sense of dread and manipulation. The film was highly controversial for its depiction of the teacher-student dynamic, but it received critical acclaim for not flinching away from the predatory nature of the relationship, focusing on the psychological fallout and the social destruction that follows when the scandal is finally unearthed. The enduring nature of these films suggests that the age gap is more than just a plot point. It is a narrative tool used to test the limits of empathy and the structures of social order. Whether viewed as cautionary tales or transgressive art, these 7 films continue to spark the same intense debates today as they did upon their initial release. So, what do you think? Were these age gap romances too controversial to handle, or were they just misunderstood love stories? Let us know in the comments which one shocked you the most. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more unforgettable moments in film. Until next time, keep watching, keep questioning, and remember, love is never simple.